You know, it's a strange thing, isn't it? How two people can look at the exact same situation and see completely different things. And it's not just about having different opinions. No, it goes much, much deeper than that. Right down to the very foundation of how we see reality itself. And today, we're going to dig into that hidden foundation.
So, let me just ask you, straight up, how do you see the world? It's a massive question, right? And you might not have a neat answer, but trust me, you have one. We all do. This is what we call your worldview. Think of it like an invisible compass that's guiding every single decision, belief, and action you take, probably without you even realizing it.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to pin down what a worldview really is. Then, we'll explore something called the three realms of reality. It's how we shape what we can even know. From there, we'll dive into culture's hidden depths with that famous iceberg metaphor, connect the dots between science and belief, and finally, wrap it all up with a practical guide for actually understanding other people.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, How You See the World. We're going to get to know that invisible compass I was just talking about.
Now, to do this right, we're really standing on the shoulders of giants. We're going to be pulling from the work of some amazing thinkers, like Dr. Yi, who helps us get a handle on worldview, the anthropologist Edward Hall, who gave us this incredible metaphor for culture, philosopher of science Dr. Hooray, who literally breaks down reality for us, and the intercultural expert Dr. Weekly, who shows us a path forward.
So, to really get our worldview, we have to start with a much bigger question. And that brings us to Section 2, the three realms of reality, which asks, how do we actually know what we know?
For this, we're looking at the work of the late Dr. Ram Hooray from Oxford University. He had this brilliant idea that we perceive reality in three different realms. So, realm 1 is the simple stuff, everything we can observe directly with our five senses. You know, what you can see, hear, and touch. Realm 2 is what we can only see with tools. Think microscopes or telescopes, things that give our senses superpowers. And then there's realm 3. This is the big one, the unobservable. This is the huge space for things like concepts, our beliefs, our spirituality, all the stuff that's currently beyond what science can even measure.
And this slide just illustrates that perfectly. On the left, realm 1, you can look up and see skydivers with your own two eyes. But to see the wild microscopic world on the right, yeah, you're going to need a tool for that. It's still observable, just indirectly. That difference is so important, and it's that third realm, the unobservable, that we're really going to be zeroing in on next.
Which is the perfect lead into Section 3, Culture's Hidden Depths, and my personal favorite, the iceberg metaphor. Okay, so this brings us to this amazing idea from the anthropologist Edward T. Hall. He said that culture is just like an iceberg. We only ever see about 10% of it, the part that's sticking out of the water. The other 90%, and this is the most powerful part, is completely hidden below the surface.
That visible tip, Hall called it surface culture. This is all the stuff we can easily point to, right? The food, the clothes, the music, the art, the language. It's the most obvious conscious part of a culture. But if you dip just below the waterline, you hit what's called mid-culture. These are all the unspoken rules of life. Things like manners, personal space, how you have a conversation, even how you think about time. We don't really talk about these rules, but man, we feel them, especially when someone breaks one.
But then there's the massive, invisible base. This is deep culture. And this right here is where the real power is. It's the world of our unconscious values, our core beliefs, how we see ourselves, how we make decisions. This is the stuff that drives everything else, and we're barely even aware of it.
Okay, get ready for the aha moment. This is Section 4, Connecting Science and Belief. This is where these two huge ideas finally click together. So get this. Dr. Hooray's three realms of reality, they map perfectly onto Hall's cultural iceberg. Realm 1, the observable, is our surface culture. Realm 2, what we see with tools, lines up with our mid-culture, and this is the absolute key. The unobservable Realm 3 is the exact same space as deep culture. Our most fundamental beliefs and values exist in a place that is, by its very nature, completely invisible. It's the foundation for literally everything.
So what does this all mean? The crucial point is this: our worldview is our reality. It's not just some lens we're looking through, it is the world we experience. And it's built in that invisible, deep, unobservable place.
See, it's our deep culture, our worldview, that gives us the answers to life's biggest questions. Where do we come from? Why are we even here? What's the meaning of it all? As thinkers like Oxford professor John Lennox explore, you're not going to find the answers to those questions in realm 1 or 2. They come from deep inside, from deep culture.
And that's exactly why the work of thinkers like John Lennox is so fascinating. When they ask, can science explain everything? What they're really doing is exploring that boundary between realm 2 and realm 3, poking at those huge fundamental questions that science can observe, but can't always give us the why for.
Okay, so why does any of this matter in the real world? Well, that brings us to our final section, a guide to understanding others. Or, as I like to think of it, how to navigate a world that's full of different, often invisible icebergs.
Just look at this number for a second. 70%.
What is that? Well, it means that 70% of all international business ventures fail, not because of bad products or a bad business plan, but because of cultural differences. Because people are constantly and unknowingly crashing into the deep, invisible parts of each other's icebergs. The stakes here are incredibly high.
So how do we get better at this? Well, Dr. Weekly gives us a roadmap. It's called the Development of Intercultural Sensitivity, and it basically charts a course from being completely centered in our own culture, what's called an ethnocentric view, to being able to actually understand and navigate lots of different cultures, an ethno-relative view. And this journey has 6 stages. It starts with denial, which is basically not even seeing cultural differences. Then it moves to defense, where difference feels like a threat, that us versus them mindset. In minimization, we try to sweep differences under the rug by saying, oh, we're all the same deep down, which actually ignores what makes people unique. The real turning point is acceptance, where we finally recognize and value that different ways of seeing the world are valid. From there, we can move to adaptation, actually shifting our own perspective to understand someone else, and finally to integration, where we can genuinely and comfortably move between different worldviews. And that really brings us to the whole point of this. Understanding the iceberg, especially that invisible 90%, it's not just some interesting idea. It is the single most important skill for communicating, for collaborating, and honestly, for succeeding in this deeply interconnected world we all live in. It's how we move from denial all the way to integration.
So I'll leave you with this one last question to chew on. You know the visible tip of your own cultural iceberg, but what about the other 90%? What are the unconscious values, the core beliefs, the hidden assumptions that are driving you from way down deep below the surface?